welcome one and all throughout time and space for this new episode of Weebs on the Weekends, the podcast where we break down the anime news highlights of the week and give a retrospective look at an anime that premiered 10 years ago. Today's episode, we will review the first season of the 2004 anime series, Bleach. My name is Sam Martinez. I'm a part-time weeb, full-time automail mechanic. With me, as always, is my co-host, Jay Johnson, part-time weeb, full-time Daigoku counselor. For this episode, we will have the return of a special guest who spoke with Jay regarding the series Sonic X. Kevin, please bear with us this episode as we are still in transitioning to the newer technologies. We're getting better, but still some P's and Q's are being minded here. And just as always, to remind you that the visuals accompanying this episode will be available on our YouTube channel. Now, remember, the time codes will always be in the episode description. Now, without further ado, please enjoy our episode. One, we're good.
Welcome back. We are the Weebs on the Weekends. So today's episode is talking about the 20th anniversary of the first season of Bleach, the 2004 anime. And with us today is Kevin Long, returning from his episode on Sonic X. Kevin, welcome back.
It's good to be back, Jay. How are you?
Oh, I'm very, very well. Just recovering from graduation. So I'm basically all done with official work at my current employer. So, and Sam's here. Hey, Sam. Hey, Sam, Kevin, Sam.
Hey guys, nice to finally meet you, Kevin.
Nice to be met.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Yes. So I think a good transition, or at least good connecting tissue from the previous episode we had with Kevin was about Sonic X. So I was thinking, since he was also responsible for the thumbnails for our YouTube videos last year for 2023. 2023 was a
Oh,
very big year
thanks
for
for that, Kev.
Sonic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin's
No
a
problem.
big promoter of our show, and I'm very appreciative of that. But I wanted to get some of like a good like connecting tissue of that with this episode to talk about 2023 as like the year of Sonic, I guess, because there was a lot of Sonic properties, materials released that year. So, Kevin, do you have like a outstanding Sonic thing that came out in 2023 that you would like to talk about or give praise to?
I mean, I think I already covered everything that needed to be covered back in 2023, but it feels good to be a Sonic fan for the first time in a long time, and I'm really looking forward to the new movie.
Oh, yes, yes. And did the Knuckles show already come
It
out?
did. It did.
Yes, I watched it. Pretty good.
Okay, pretty
Oh
good.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh my god. What was your favorite scene?
That's tough, actually, but I guess the the whole big play they did in his mind was very interesting.
The ballad.
Yes, that was very interesting. Didn't
Yes.
see it coming. It was very, very neat.
I was to say that was probably mine, and it was fairly well done. That scene, but like everything else too was pretty good. And I'm definitely hyped for the movie that's coming out. It's oh my
Mm.
goodness, like Kevin said, it's good to be a Sonic fan, and it's been some time since we were able to eat this good.
And was Idris Elba returned as the voice of
Oh
Knuckles,
yeah,
or was
yeah.
that new?
No, no,
Oh,
he
good. Okay.
returned, and I think he still signed on for the third, even though we got another heavy hitter for Shadow coming on. So,
Right. Yeah.
mhm.
So yeah, we have the Keanu Reeves for Shadow. There was a few other things, but can't really. Well, no, not for us. Yeah, don't want to talk about that too much. But yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah, so Sonic good stuff last year, Sonic good stuff this year, Sonic good stuff next year, hopefully. All right, awesome. So we're here to talk about Bleach. Was a pick of Kevin's. So shall we transition to the next?
That we
Uh,
shall, guys. That we
all right.
shall. Let's go ahead and walk to the other side. Boom. So now we're all in our soul forms, right? Here, chilling in the Serete.
All
And
right. Nice.
how do we want to go about this? Because I'm I can pretty much geek out about Bleach, so I don't.
All right. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so just a little background that, and I think something that was very unclear when this was pitched about why I wanted to talk about Bleach,
Hmm.
at least for me, it was like I never watched, or I have never watched the first arc of Bleach. I have seen,
Really?
yeah, so
Wow.
I have a very not complex history with Bleach or history
And you
with
call
Bleach.
yourself a weeb?
Yes, that it was something that has always been missing from my vernacular when people talk about Bleach because of the big three. I was always more of a Naruto kid, I guess. Did
Of
everyone have
course.
like a big
Of
three
course.
that they assigned as their not personality, but they were like, oh yeah, I'm this kid. Yeah, I was not cringe of like running in PE with my hands behind
You did Naruto
my
run?
arms behind
Okay.
me. No, I didn't Naruto one. I wasn't outgoing enough to be that kid. But
Did you
yeah, I
wear the
was
headband to
never.
class?
I did have like one of those plastic kunais that
Hmm.
I kept in my
Oh,
backpack, and I was like, man,
just in case.
if
Just
something
in case
happens,
somebody
yeah.
would. Sorry.
Yeah, but other than that, yeah. And now that we've revisited Bleach, sorry,
Hmm.
One Piece with Jack a few times, our other favorite guest,
Hmm.
that Bleach was the one that of the big three I didn't have any like deep familiarity with. So I was like, oh, who's the perfect person to talk to about that was Kevin. So Kevin, why did you pitch that Bleach was something worth revisiting?
Because it's good.
My
I,
man.
that's like, what else? Like, what do you think I'm ironically liking this show? It's good. Like, Bleach is great.
Mhm. Nice, nice,
I
nice. Yeah.
think it makes the other, like, One Piece and Naruto look bad, honestly.
Oh, nice,
Those,
nice.
those,
Okay.
those, those are some heavy words. But Kevin, would you mind giving a little bit of your history to Bleach? Like, how were you exposed to it, if you don't mind me asking?
So I watched the first episode when I was like 14,
Hmm.
and then I didn't watch the next episode until like months later, and then I was hooked for ever after that. Like, I don't know what happened. The first episode didn't hook me, but like after a few more, it was like, oh, I see now. I see what's going on. And eventually, I started just reading the manga because the anime was just too slow and cumbersome.
Hmm.
It had that whole shonen anime syndrome. Uh,
Yeah, like the
and
Dragon
then,
Ball.
but
Yeah.
this new anime, well, really, Dragon Ball is not a good example because they don't have nearly as much filler. Like, Bleach is 45% filler.
Hmm.
Um, so, but yeah, it's like Naruto and One Piece do the same thing where it's like half the show's filler. But I really, really am enjoying the currently airing Bleach Thousand Year Blood War, and don't think I actually ever finished the manga because the last arc is actually kind of bad, but
Hmm.
the this anime rendition of it is really good. So
Oh, it's
I think
so
at this
pretty.
point
Yeah.
at this point I barely know what's going on, so I'm excited about that.
No, that's good. It's like you said, you're revisiting an old franchise and you're getting some new stuff with it because you didn't necessarily finish it, and it's good that you're having a good experience. Like you're actually enjoying it. Like how I'm not saying like is it not as much as you did it in the beginning, but you're still enjoying it, right?
No, I'm enjoying it as much as I was in the beginning. It's really
Yeah,
good.
yeah. No, that's awesome. So it's cool to have another A1 Day One on here because I started when the show. I think it was. I didn't start it when it was airing, but like they were doing some rebroadcast, and it was funny. The first episode that I had watched, it was with my sister, and I think it was episode 3 or 4 when we found out that Rukia was living in Ichigo's closet, and I was just like, what is going on here? This is hilarious, and it Bleach just got me at a good time in terms of like the tone and the depth, and I kept going with the anime until about I think it was like a little bit after the Soul Society or around where the Bound arc started. And then I started reading the manga a little bit like you, Kevin. And I kept up with it. There were some dips, but I still enjoyed the ride, even though everybody was just like hating on it. Like all the other big threes is like it felt like Naruto and One Piece were the only ones getting love instead of Bleach. But it's good to have another A1 Day One fan in here. I don't feel alone, and it's also going to be interesting to hear Jay's opinion on it, being a first time consumer as well.
Right, because I haven't even read a single chapter of the manga, so what you guys can relate between the anime and manga, and that's what I always hear from Bleach fans, who are very probably one of the chillest fandoms I've come across doing like the background about Bleach, and it's
Hmm.
like when everyone talks about Bleach, it's always in this like very oh check it out, it's pretty great stuff kind of tone. It's never fanaticism, and when it comes to like DBZ fans or Naruto fans or One Piece fans,
Oh
they're
yeah,
not really trying to
yeah.
sell you on Bleach. They're just like, hey, check it out. It's pretty good stuff. You're missing out if you don't check it out. And I think that's why I've never checked out Bleach because I've never heard like this overwhelming gush of emotionality when it came to people talking about it. So when I went back to watch Substitute Soul Reaper for the first time, when to see these revisit these characters that I've known from Soul Society on, I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, how did this gain traction looking at like the first couple of episodes? So Substitute
Hmm.
Soul Reaper is the first 20 episodes of the Bleach series that ran for 366 episodes. Like Kevin mentioned, like 45, 47% of it is non-canon or filler. So like even the Bount arc was like inserted for on the production line because it was
Yeah.
catching up to the manga weekly release in Shonen Jump, and even what Kevin mentioned about why the thousand year
Blood
blood
War.
war wait yeah sorry 1,000 year blood war arc is
There
so
you go.
good is because he was Taite Kubo was being rushed in the production of it. So even he said recently, as he's overseeing the production of the anime this time around, where he wasn't really involved in the
Hmm.
2004 version, that he was like, okay, I'm going to make the anime like the more canon version of the story because he's actually putting changes into the story that he meant to write in as the manga.
Yes, that
So it's
will.
very
Yeah.
interesting that we've had like two mangakas that have said that because before it was a Attack on Titan's creator saying like, oh, the anime is the ending that he wanted. Same thing with Taide
Hmm.
Kubo saying like, oh, this is the version of my story. So it's very interesting. Like you can say both of those are like, I guess the evolution of anime as co-productions between a manga and the anime itself. So do you guys feel like that's like substantially what makes Bleach so good is that the manga is good and the anime adaptation is not good?
I'm gonna say
Get,
the anime adaptation of
yeah.
Bleach is bad.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it's just that it's what happens is, oh hey, we're running out of manga, gotta just make up stuff, and they're not very good at that.
Mm,
I mean there are a few really good filler episodes. I highly recommend both episodes where it's the Arabian Nights, and I also recommend the Halloween episode of Bleach. That's very funny,
Hmm.
and they have a beach
oh, I
episode I
watched
haven't
that with
seen,
you.
but
Yeah.
probably great.
Hmm.
But when they do a whole filler arc, it's like they can't move the plot forward. Obviously, they can't move the characters forward, so it's just not going to be interesting.
Mm. Yeah, I guess I meant more specifically in like the first season because as least as I've seen it, so I read the first 70 chapters of the
Oh,
manga
okay.
to
So
match up
you
to
can
what
actually
people were
compare it.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, so the way they introduce characters, how Taikubo introduces the character is very interesting compared to how the anime introduces the character. So I guess I was speaking more to like censorship or altered introduction of characters or plot points or like small details that the anime cuts out.
Had mentioned the censorship as I'm going through and watching it's sort of weird because I'm going back and I'm watching the English dub, and in the beginning they say darn and heck and stuff like that. I'm like, what do you? And I'm just like, am I watching the same thing? I remember them clearly saying like actual curse words. It's like, what's happening? And then they switch it up, like they actually go for the TV teen rating, and like later on is like they say actual curse words because there was some censorship in regards to how they introduce some characters, but it's like later on and outside of the scope of what we're talking about.
All right, cool, cool,
Okay.
cool. Yeah, because I guess I went about this very oddly, which I've never done before. So I watched the anime episode, and then I went back to the manga to see how it like
Yeah, how
correlated.
it
Because
lined up.
because it's always the perception of like the big three is that they're of equal standing, but they're not. Obviously, One Piece is still running. Naruto has its sequel series and ended, and then Bleach had this giant interruption of its release, its rush ending. Now it's coming
Hmm.
back and getting readapted with its new sequel
And
series.
yet,
So yeah,
it's the best one.
yeah, right. It's the best one because I think it's because that the creator is actually involved in the production of it. It's like
Hmm.
he knows what the anime version was before and how it was a misrepresentation. So going into this, you can say, okay, what did the anime do that the manga didn't do, or what the anime didn't do that the anime did? Because if you're looking at like the history of Bleach, it's very interesting. If you're looking at the history of Bleach, it's just like no one really talks about Bleach. It's the same way that it doesn't rank high in the popularity contests anymore, that it's been almost forgotten. And I was like, why is that the case? So do you think there's a reason for that, Kevin? Like if you say you're a Bleach fan, maybe you get certain looks. It's like, why are you talking about Bleach? It's irrelevant.
Yeah, I remember one time I was run out of town because I said I watched Bleach when I was in Reno, Nevada, and I had to leave and go back home.
Damn, tragedy.
I would say for me, I think that it partially could be with the relationship that Tight had with Shonen Jump at the time. Because it seemed that with the tight schedule that they had in trying to write, his writing did suffer later on in the series, and it was reflective of that. And I think that, like, because as soon as like he had ended up finishing, there was that big like you said, there was that big gap, and it seemed like he didn't want to have really anything to do with the manga industry because of all that he experienced. So it was just very surprising that he came back, and as a fan, like it's good to see him coming back and taking control of his properties more, um, and having more, being able to spearhead it more. Whereas I would say probably back then uh, the most that he can do is just jump as high as they told him to. So it's good to see that, and hopefully with this resurgence and some of the power of the old fans, it would be able to help push it forward. But like you said, it's at least like that's why I think that it's not as prevalent anymore because of that break that he had from the experiences that he had working with Jump and their writing
Mm.
schedule.
All right. Yeah. So just getting back
Hmm.
into like the substitute Soul Reaper arc. So I like that the 20 episodes feels a little bit more grounded in, again, like looking at the fantastical nature of One Piece, and then like the historical, uh, I guess not, it's not even a retelling of
Not
the world,
historical
but
fiction, but yeah, like
yeah, the historical
fantastical.
fiction, I guess, of Naruto. But yeah, I like that in the first 20 episodes, you get this very grounded approach to the four main cast members.
Hmm.
And I was very surprised about how personal their stories were. That, Orihime has her brother's story, Chad has his, well, not his, but he has this cockatiel boy trapped in a bird story.
Yes.
Oryu gets his master's death flushed out, and then you have Rukia getting like this. Oh, sorry, five members, I guess, really. But yeah, Rukia's whole like, oh, this is what a normal life can be. It's like if I was detached from my duties as a Soul Reaper, this is the life I could lead. So like, I liked how much of the first 20 episodes are like an anthology almost, like they're an origin story for each of the characters,
Mm.
where you don't get that in the other of the big threes. Like you get Romance Dawn, of course, of like the flashback to Luffy's upbringing, and then in Naruto you don't really get his parentage or his whole backstory fleshed out until far down the line. But I think the greatest thing to talk about with the Substitute Soul Reaper arc is that it's really endears you to how deep the characters are and how personally interconnected they are. Even though it's like monster of the week essentially, but all the monsters are interconnected to a personal theme of each of the characters. So it's really deep in that way. Or am I just reading nonsense?
No, I think I really like the first season. I think it's better than most of the arcs of Bleach. It might even be my favorite arc. Um, and we Bleach fans tend to call it the Age of the Shinigami arc, which is a partial translation of its Japanese title, because obviously Shinigami isn't an English word. But I really like this one. I like all the cape shit. It's like Ichigo's basically Spider-Man going and saving the day.
Yes.
It's like a Monster League story. It's like it's like Spider-Man fights the Green Goblin, Ichigo fights such and such Hollow today. Uh, and I find that, I mean, it's formulaic. They couldn't keep doing it forever, but I honestly wish they did it a little longer because I really liked this first season quite a lot.
Mhm.
And it
Is there
also,
like,
I'm sorry, you were
yeah.
saying?
Oh no, I was just going to say, like, can you talk a little bit more on that? It's like, what's really like the highlight of like this
Well, the tone
arc?
is very different than the
Hmm.
first season compared to everything else. It has a little darker edge to it, which I like. Um, because it takes place in the real world, the threats seem more threatening.
They seem more
Because
tangible, yeah.
yeah, it really, and the people, almost everyone is just completely powerless to stop them. Uh, Ichigo's sisters, they can just get killed by Hollow in 2 seconds if the wrong thing happens. And so there's this edge to it. And also, but at the same time, it's got this two-sided thing because there's also this great humor to the first season, which I really like. And they kind of keep that going later on, but I feel like it shines more here because they let some of the characters who really suit those moments shine, such as Chad. I mean, when he's punching a Hollow he can't see, and he's like, "Yeah,
Yes.
I got him." That is hilarious. That is great. Is a great gag, and I just think gags like that in the rest of Bleach are kind of the ones that hit are few and far between compared to the first season.
Mm. It's watered down after this part. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting. Sam, do you have a highlight to talk about?
No, like what Kevin said, rewatching this, the humor was what really stood out, and what you said about it being grounded, it works because essentially Ichigo's being a beat cop, so it works. So like it being a bad guy of the week, even though like it is a bad guy of the week, it makes sense for what he does because he's supposed to be there patrolling the streets, and his interactions with Brukia and how she basically had to sit him down and have him understand the weight of responsibility of what it means to do what he's doing. It's very, very good and made me realize my appreciations for the characters that much more. And again, like what Kevin said, like the humor, it's not forced, it's the characters being themselves. Like when they go to the Don Kanochi uh, broadcasting. You see everybody doing the Bwahaha Wakanda X sort of thing, right? And everybody and Ichigo was making fun of them, and Rukia was making fun of them, and then next thing you know, Rukia is doing the same thing, and it's like, what is this? And not only that, like even seeing like Don Kanochi's character, it made me realize my appreciation for him, even though maybe later on he's not utilized very well, but like how he's introduced, it oh my god, it made me realize like because any other anime would have written him off as some sort of asshole scumbag, but in this anime, like he was being earnest and he really wanted to be a good example for his viewers. And he actually thought that he was doing the right thing. And when he realized that he wasn't, he changed. And like after watching that, I'm like, oh, it's like hot damn. It's like that's really good because you like in any other work, it's like you don't really get that. You always get like this facade where the other shoe drops and it turns out the person's a jerkwad and they knew what they're doing or they don't care the results of what they're doing as long as they're getting money. So stuff like that where we get like honest moments. Um, where honest moments like that. So that definitely very appreciative, and it's also very good in. I would also say like this is also like uh how he's like slowly starts to world build. He being Kubo so slowly starts to world build, and it's done fairly well. I would say in the anime, uh, it may be a not heavy handed, but they may have done a little bit more than needed, but it didn't really upset it too much.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I think that earnest nature that you're talking about, or genuine
Mm-hmm.
nature, also they had a lot more interactions than I thought they would have
Mm-hmm.
before. Because like again, I'm starting this thinking like Rukia is who she is in
Yeah.
Soul Society, where she's just a damsel in distress. But like getting her character fleshed out, I was like enjoying so many moments with her because I was like thinking ahead of time, like, oh, she's just who I know her to be, but that's not who she is in the first arc. And like even small moments like, oh, what was that moment? Oh, Kevin, what is that moment or what is that move with the Hulk and um, Wolverine called?
Oh, you're thinking of Colossus and Wolverine's
Oh,
fastball
Colossus.
special.
Oh
Yes, thank you.
yes,
Fastball special. Yeah,
her
so like
in the Chad. Yes, that was
yeah,
great.
Chad and Rukia have this moment where like, yeah, Chad can't see hollows, but she can. So like, she, he uses her as like this finding hollow detector, and it was just like those small moments, comedic moments,
Mm-hmm.
and even like it starts out pretty early. Like even like the first scene with Ichigo when he's beating up those delinquents, he like puts his full foot on a delinquent's face and like keeps it there for a moment, then pushes him down. And but then
Easy
that
Yes.
5 amp.
continues. Right, yeah, yeah. And yeah, again, comedic moments. I think there was like a lot of comedy that underlines it, which pairs perfectly with the danger Kevin mentioned. And to speak about the danger, or to speak about, I think the hollows is why it's really terrifying, is how diverse they are. So you get the first hollow to talk about like the escalation of danger. You get all the way at the very end, you get the Grand Fisher, and you get
Mm-hmm.
an introduction to a hollow. I think his name is Fisher Bone or Fisher D Bone. Um,
Fishbone, I thought think.
yeah, Fishbone. Okay. And it's like, okay, designs are cool, abilities are cool, and then how outclass. And it's like Kevin said about Spider-Man. It's like, yeah, this is his year one, where it's like
Mm-hmm.
he's right out the gate fresh and he's inexperienced, and I feel the danger for him. So it was like a good build of expectation where he
Yeah.
faces off against like even when you get past the hollows and you get into Renji and Byakuga. Yeah, that
Byakuga.
guy. Thank you.
Byakuya.
He's like, yeah,
Byakuya,
thank you.
my
Yeah.
apologies. Byakuya.
It's
Yeah.
like that escalating danger in these like first 20 episodes is like you don't feel like Ichigo's going to make it out alive essentially, or that someone's going to die. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
just lends to the strength of how much
Yeah.
intensity that you're invested in. Like, okay, you get introduced to these characters, you care about their backstories, you care about their motivations, you care about their lives, and then you're like, okay, now let's put them into a dangerous situation. And it's the same way like with Yu Yu Hakusho and other like dark fantasy shows. And I think that lends to the idea of why this wasn't popular, or at least why it was kind of too
Like
edgy for the
dismissed.
time or for the
Oh
age
yeah.
group. Yeah. So like I'm not surprised that I was the soft boy that didn't watch this until later on.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
One thing that I've noticed about these early episodes is that, how do I put this? Uh, it's not a battle anime, and like it's kind of like how Dragon Ball and Yu Yu Hakusho, speaking of Yu Yu Hakusho, also start out as something else, but end up kind of becoming a battle anime because that's what people make.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like this first arc because it isn't that. It's not about, because later Bleach, a lot of it is I have my power up, and whoever has their power up last wins.
Yeah.
But here it's not like that. That's just not how the style of this first arc. It's much more. It's really quite similar to Western comic books in many ways. Like I think, Spider-Man, Batman, like it really is closer to that in that, it's not about Ichigo getting Shikai or Bankai or Vizard or whatever his new thing is. It's just about defeating the villain, and how do you do that?
Yeah, they have to outthink it, like with I forgot his name, but the one with the bombs, like what Jay said, how essentially Chad and Rukia had to quote unquote combine, and she had to be his eyes, and even Ichigo had to figure out how to circumvent his explosives. Like there's actual thinking that's involved, and not only that, with some of the interconnectedness that these hollows had with the people in their daily lives. Like there's layers on top of that, not just oh, let me kick this guy's butt so I can go on to the next big bad, that sort of thing.
Right, yeah. And maybe this is not an original idea, but it does seem like after Kevin said that, I was like, okay, yeah, Ichigo is probably a magical girl. It's essentially a magical boy. But yeah, it's like the whole idea of like, yeah, we don't, it's like escalating threats, of course, but also it just comes down to how resourceful the main character of the cast is to deal with that problems, or it's
Mm-hmm.
the Power Ranger essentially. Sentai setup is like, okay, new threat emerges, it has unique power sets, it has this kind of threat to the community, to the town, to the area. Okay, how do we deal with that? How do we um, deliver a certain response with the same power set that we have? It's not escalations, I'm not getting more powerful with each enemy, I'm still base level, and how do I deal with these new challenges? So it's it's very interesting in how that I thought Rukia was going to be more of a sensei, which she does serve as a exposition dump. I very much like the
Mm-hmm.
comedy in how she explains what souls and what hollows are when she
Yeah,
brings
her
out the
art is
little,
great.
yeah, with the little pad. She's like, hey, here's a little drawing. Okay, this looked like a 5-year-old drew this, but uh that
Same punchline every time, but it's always great.
mhm. Yeah, because like it's not, well, it's repetitive, but it's not diminished in any way. It's like refreshing because it's a break from the intensity of like each of the scenes or to the danger, and that's why it plays so well. And getting to the sensei parts, we can talk about Ukihara, because
Patent
what
clogs.
a character to introduce. And I, again, like, I know him as like the mastermind behind the scenes, and like he's the equivalent of Aizen when we get introduced to him later on. But where he is now, I'm like, oh, he's just a shopkeep. He's like the friendly old guy hermit that you wouldn't expect to be so like OP in the long run. But how did you find like the introduction of Ukihara as well as
It's
Yuki
Urahara.
Yeah,
Orihara? Thank you. Sorry. Oh yeah, it's URA Orihara. Yeah, and his cat friend.
Yoruichi.
Yeah, I really like Urahara. I think he's really good in these early episodes. I feel like a lot of the stuff that comes on later, they obviously didn't have it all planned out, and you can tell that from here. But he's an interesting character regardless, though.
I
Oh,
would.
that's interesting about the if you didn't think it was planned out ahead of time. Okay, cool.
I don't think everything about his character was.
Hmm.
I don't know. Like
Gotcha.
I think that they there was a good enough foundation to work with, because you saw like when he opened up the gate, um, and the fact that he alluded to Rukia that the stuff that he was getting her was done in an illegal way. There was like good groundwork for a good backstory. Whether or not the finer details of those backstory were made at that time, it's hard to say, but there was a good enough groundwork to where Kubo can work with it and make it how he needed it to be.
I don't think he had any idea about the Hogyoku
Oh no,
back in
no.
season one.
Oh
I don't.
no.
Yeah, that's what
Oh
I'm talking
no.
about. It's like that's such an important thing that he supposedly is planning out, right? Like and doing
Mhm.
stuff with right now. And it's like I don't know about this. It seems like that's kind of convoluted.
A
But
little.
while we're on the topic of Urahara, can we talk about how Genta and Ururu, we have no idea where they're from, what they are, and we never find out in the entirety of Bleach.
I'm so mad that they got shafted because they are so especially Ururu. Ururu is just so interesting. I want to say I think it's like implied that she's another version of a mod soul like Kon, but different. And she has so many cool badass moments. One of them we see in the Substitute Soul Reaper arc, and there are a few other scenes that she has later on, but they don't really he never really expands on it, and I feel like Ginta is underutilized as well because him and I think it was Karin, they begin to have a relationship because they're both huge sport nuts. So like you would think that
I think that
something,
might be
yeah,
anime only.
maybe anime only, okay.
I can't remember.
But like the thing is like if anything like that's probably like one thing that like if it is anime only that's probably one thing that was a positive that could have been done in the manga to at least use him. But oh my goodness, Jay, what was your opinion on those two?
Just that they're like, okay, cool. Well, no, it's like
Yeah,
same way as I mean, we'll talk more about the side cast, but it's
yeah.
like I wonder like after well knowing where it goes from here is like, okay, and what Kevin said about the vibes of this season are just
Hmm.
so just unique to itself. Like the school life stuff and it's like the directions that it could have went, and I
Hmm.
guess that lends into like the idea like everything wasn't planned out to a T to what was important and what could be left behind.
Yeah.
It's just like something that just gets lost in how deep of or how much information kind of gets conveyed in these 20 episodes, because like
Hmm.
we'll get into it a little bit later on, but I want to talk about the inner worlds and soul society and
Oh yeah.
um showing up of a Minos Grande, but Menos Grande, but
Yep, Manos
anyway,
Grande. Yep.
yeah, yeah. It's just like, oh yeah, it's like cool, interesting casts, and then you'll never see them again. Or the cast is so huge that you don't need to see them because they have such a strong personality and strong impact. It's like, yeah, that's what the world is. It's just filled with interesting people.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm cool
That's a
right
good
now.
point. That's a good point. I didn't think about it like that. But I still agree with Kevin. We need more screen time with some of the cooler side characters.
Yeah. Yeah. Bleach has an unfortunate case of too many character syndrome.
Hmm.
Like
Mm,
it's really bad on the show. I use it as the prime example of this trope where, I mean, it's not enough to just introduce some captains. You got to introduce 13 captains and all their lieutenants and some other additional Soul Reaper characters, and and it's just like you can't use all these. You're not going to have time to use all these. What are you doing? Why make it 13 of them? And why have to like they all get kind of fleshed out and they all have fights, and because of that, characters that we really like Chad and Uryu and Orihime and Rukia, don't get to do shit after this arc. Basically, I
Hmm.
mean, for like a really long time they don't really do anything important, and it's just yeah. Bleach has this Don Kanoji. There's all these characters who I really like that never get used, and it's very unfortunate.
mm.
There's just too many characters to go around, not enough.
So what does Ichigo have like a I forgot the word because I always forget how to say it, but it's like the dual lead of the show. Does
No.
Ichigo have one, or is it just all about Ichigo?
No,
Okay, okay.
I mean,
it's
an
just pretty
arc
much
might
him.
have one, but yeah, I mean, in this first arc, Uryu fills that purpose, and in
Mhm,
Soul
Hmm.
Society, Renji fills that purpose,
mhm.
and perhaps in the Arankar arc in Hueco Mundo, you could think of Grimmjow as fulfilling that purpose in a way, but no, Ichigo is the protagonist. and everyone else kind of exists to serve as his story in a little bit.
Pretty much,
Do you
like,
think that's a negative thing against Bleach, or do you think that actually lends or leads into like the strength of Ichigo as the main character being developed and that being the focus?
I think Ichigo's a great main character, and I don't think necessarily that there isn't a strong person you can say is number two is a negative thing.
Mhm.
But I do wish some of these other characters were developed more.
I feel like
Gotcha,
this
yeah.
goes into what Kevin had said earlier, is like the plot, right? Like there's just not enough plot, and a lot of these characters are strong and they can hold their own, but the plot's just mainly calling for Ichigo. If Ichigo is not on the scene, it's like, oh, what can we do to get Ichigo on the scene, right? That sort of thing. And if that is a negative, that would be it. But that's my thoughts on that.
I mean, on the other
Yeah.
hand, I think Uryu and Renji had a fight in the manga that lasted 3 real-world years, or actually, I think it was 2 real-world years. So, I mean, they got development. It's just that they never got to do anything that was actually quote unquote important.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like.
Gotcha. So yeah, like you said, like maybe the second main lead switches every arc, but for this first one, I think it was a very interesting way of introducing that co-lead as an antagonist, and obviously the rival to ally kind of trope is common in shonen. But I think when it comes to this introduction of this rival and ally, it serves better because of obviously the importance it'll play, like in the Millennium Blood War. But there's also this idea that Oryu is hurt in the same way as
As Ichigo,
Ichigo is, like
yeah.
the loss of a parent figure, and that he feels it's someone else's fault when Ichigo internalizes it as his fault.
Mm-hmm.
Where you like have these two expressions of grief, is like in internalized versus externalized when it comes to
That's very
Uryu.
interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
I
I'm
think
glad.
you're spitting. I think that's what Kubo was on about.
Okay. Sweet, sweet, sweet.
Bars.
Okay, cool. All right, yeah. So like Uryu as a character, I think like the antagonism works, that shared trauma and
Mm-hmm.
coming to understand each other and why it works. And it's like I guess it's a shame that it's dropped, because like I see them working together in Soul Society, and they already were coming together as friends or allies. So like to see them rivals at this point and so different, or some similar in how they perceive things, that it works, and it's disappointing that that setup doesn't carry through. So I think the introduction of Oryu was a strong uh, positive to the first season, but now that it gets dropped off, and I guess that's the whole point of what you guys were saying, it's like these great characters just disappear from the story.
Yeah, I think
Mhm.
after Chad, I think Chad never wins another fight that against the character who anyone ever cares about ever again.
I would,
Mhm.
yeah, because very like what Kevin had said earlier. It's like in this first arc, and even like in the Soul Society, with the core cast being those core supporting cast, Orihime, Uryu, and Chad, and like the stakes are there. One of them essentially uh gambits his or her ability to even continue. And like it's very there, it's very palpable, and they're shown to be very capable going up against these captain class soul reapers with only what a week's training with Yoruichi or something along those lines. Like they didn't have an extensive training period, and then after this they're essentially shafted, or they all get the Sakura treatment where everybody, like the power scaling essentially like jumps. I would say as far as like Chad goes, we get a little bit more with him in the execution arc, which is like later on down the road. And I would say for me, that was when my heart got reinvigorated for Bleach, because a similar antagonist to Aizen appears to show up in the beginning, and it's not necessarily we have to beat the big bad guy. We have to address this in a different way, um, similar to what we did in the Substitute Soul Reaper arc. So going back to what Kevin said, going back to its roots, where it's not necessarily a battle anime, but it's taking sort of like the JoJo's Bizarre approach, whereas like you have to think and you have to plan to overcome your obstacle, not just scream and swing your sword at it. And yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. But we want to try and stay in this part.
Right. Yeah. So, and then the final introduction. So we got through a couple other of the characters and talked
Mm-hmm.
about them enough, and then we get to episode 17, which is the like, okay, this is where haven't talked about the live action version of that came out in 2018, but this
Oof.
is where that film cuts off as they don't do the training montage at the last three episodes to get ready for Soul Society. But you
Mm-hmm.
get introduced to Renji and the captain.
Byakuya. Yep.
Thank you.
Or
And
you could just
their
say Kuchiki.
characters. Yeah, I know, but
Okay.
Captain
Oh,
Kuchiki,
but what if you mean
thank you.
Rukia?
Yeah, Captain Kuchiki.
Oh
And
yeah.
like, oh, that dynamic of okay, so while Rukia was like living this, not idealized life, but she was getting a respite from like all the death and killing that she's been uh,
Assigned to do.
normalized to her
Yeah.
over like, hundreds of years. It's like, oh, okay, oh, she was actually really risking something. Like you get not enamored. You get drawn into like the idea that she needs to be rescued in the next arc. Where before I was just like, oh, he's just going to rescue a friend. But yeah, how deep of a connection that Rukia and Ichigo
Yeah.
develop in that first
Mm-hmm.
um, 20 or 17 episodes, you get the
Yeah.
idea. Okay, this is why people confused it with romance when it's just a really powerful, intimate friendship. And I like that that was a direction they took with it. And I mean, there was some sense in the anime where it felt a little forced to make it like this triangle situation. And even
Yeah.
when I was going into Soul Society, I was like, okay, he's just going to save a friend, but there is like confusion of how it's presented. Like she could be a love interest for him essentially. But I do like the threat level you get at the very end or around 17, episode 17, with the introduction of Renji and the captain. It's like, oh, these are what the threats are of the entire series essentially. Like,
So
yeah.
sorry, it's just while we're on the subject of Byakuya and Renji, they're very different in that episode. Like even a few episodes later, I mean, Renji looks like he's like, "I'm gonna cut you down and kill you and murder you, Rukia, and I hate you and you're gonna die." And 3 episodes later, he's like, "They're not really gonna kill you. Like, come on, that's crazy." And it's like I saw you try to kill her like 3 episodes ago. Why are we
Why are
like
you flippy
like it's just
floppy?
yeah, it's an example of early installment weirdness, and and Rukia says that her brother has never even looked at her, which is ridiculous. And also she says no Soul Reaper could defeat a Minos Grande alone, and it's like your brother could do that. So it's just clearly not everything had been developed yet, and those characters they kind of come in and they're different than how they are even a little bit later, and even not that much longer,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that
which I
that is
find interesting.
that is a good point. Jay, when you went and read the manga, did you feel this shift in characters in regards to Renji and Byakuya, or did they feel consistent in both mediums?
As it well, at least as it plays out in those like few chapters of like leading up into like the main group departing for the Soul Society, and when you get a clear image of like the other captains, because you get introduced, you get to see like a short snippet of Geen, or he's a lieutenant, or Jin. How do you pronounce
No,
his
no.
name? Smiling
I
dude.
think
Renji
it's
Abarai.
No, the dude that has like a very long sword. Not Kampachi.
Oh,
no.
Ishimaru Gin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ishima. Yeah,
Geen. Sorry,
yeah.
Geen. Yeah.
He's a
You get an
captain.
introduction of him, and like, yeah, there is like a lean into is like hard to distinguish the type of comedy that it's going for, but like the comedy bleeds into like characters that maybe shouldn't be that way. So I guess that's the feeling, is like there's the undercut tones of like, okay, the comedy that's separate from the action, and then there is like misplaced comedy beats inside of characters. So I think it was really hard to tell, but manga, it feels a little bit more uh drama heavy than the anime
Hmm.
makes it seems out to be. So I think the anime is a little bit more comedic in undercutting the character seriousness, where the manga kept a little bit more of a separation to those two elements.
Okay. That's a good observation. But I think I might not have explained my question. Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
you what Ken had just said, how in the anime when they introduced Byakuya and Renji, a few episodes in, their characters are almost, if not completely different. In the manga, because you said you read the manga along with
Mhm.
the anime. So did you in terms of Renji and Byakuya, did they seem consistent, or did this shift in characterization happen the same way in the manga?
Oh, like if it was identical. No, it
Yeah.
was definitely more straightforward. I was saying, like there's like
Hmm.
Renji does break into like seeming like more lighthearted later on, or like
Hmm.
in that moment, but it's not like comedic to the drastic change of it. It's like there's
Oh,
like a
okay.
moment where he's like Soul Reaper mode, doing like threatening Rukia, and then he's like playfully like, "Oh no, it wasn't really serious," like you said. It's like that offcut of work mode versus personal mode, and
Okay.
you
Yeah,
forgot
like he's
that.
just like clocked out or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's good.
So a clear more separation of what the intent was to why he was acting the way he was acting before. It's like, okay, yeah, I was threatening to kill you, but I was doing it on the pretense of like it was work. Now we're back in our homeland, and so let's be, you know, friends again, essentially.
Okay.
All
So,
right, so that
mhm.
wraps up. I mean, those are kind of all the characters that I can think of that was worth mentioning. Oh my God, no! So getting a little to the last, actually, the last character is inside of Ichigo's spiritual world. So we can talk about the power system, and I want to kind of get you guys' thoughts about how it gets introduced as like a power system, and the whole idea of shikais and zanpatos and
Mhm.
inner worlds and Quincy powers. Did you feel like it was too much and it was overwhelming?
No, I don't think it's overwhelming. I do think it's kind of par for the course for an anime. It kind of makes the show less interesting in a sense. But also, hey, it's pretty cool when someone goes says their sword name and something cool happens. That is kind of cool. Um, like I really liked Ichigo's inner world that he goes to, and I liked how it sets up a twist that doesn't come. You don't get to see the what happens there for like hundreds of episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the way back, so much of like what's happening at the end of Bleach is alluded to in these first 20 episodes, which
Mhm.
I find very fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if it was all intentional or not, but it's good stuff either way. And but yeah, I really liked. I like how mysterious it all is. This there's a very different tone in this first season. Like the chains that are biting each other, and Ichigo's about to. It's almost like body horror esque this season. It has a lot of elements of like horror,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
where I mean, which makes sense. It's about like ghosts and such. When really you're not really getting that in other arcs. You're not really getting this horror vibes. And I think I completely got off topic of whatever question you asked there.
No, I think, yeah, because I think that was one of my points about the introduction of, okay, we can just call him the guy inside the world or in the world, but
He's
is like,
Zangetsu.
Yeah,
yeah.
Zangetsu.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. My bad. Zengetsu. Okay. But yeah, the introduction of Zengetsu is like pulling that line of like how much of this was pre-planned, how much of it is what Sam said about building on spaces that weren't really clear. It was just a good foundation. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, was everything about how Ichigo pulls out the actual form of his sword, like those boxes, is like the symbolism behind all of that. How much of that was planned versus like, oh, it just worked out that way because it was so mysterious at the beginning. So is it just
That's
sign of good writing that he left it so mysterious and intriguing, or is he doing a lot of ass pulls of like making things fit where they shouldn't?
well, Kubo's really good at ass pulls, so I can't tell.
Okay.
But I mean, he is like he does them all the time. It's like that character can't possibly live. It's impossible. You know, we sit there for a week when it was coming out, the manga was coming out, like no, they're dead. There's nothing they can do. And then boom, not true. Some crazy shit you've never heard of actually happened.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay. Um,
Gotcha.
But
Yeah, Sam,
once
where do
again, I
you
forgot what
fall on
question you
that?
asked.
Yeah,
no.
because I think
Mhm.
it's just interesting about how much of like the setup of the power system do you feel like lends into like the positives of this arc versus like why it needed to change because everything was setting it up in a way like it needs to be explained and like the direction, because like I think something that's just being repeated again and again is like this just feels so distinctly different from everything that comes after it. Is like how much of like the power system is at fault for where the story goes when it could have just stayed, I guess, simple and grounded and um, more
I
familiar
mean,
to
if
what.
anything, I think what happened is the Soul Society arc was extremely popular.
Mm,
And so this kind of storytelling in the first season was kind of probably the editors wanted to get away from that because Soul Society was so popular.
Yeah, and
That would be my
mhm,
guess.
but I would say, and that leads into a little bit of no, that definitely leads into the issue that Jay is talking about, because before the Soul Society, right? Like we have like these different power systems. Well, not necessarily different power systems, but different ways of using it. So you have the Shinigami with their Zanpakutos. You have the Quincy with their control of Reishi. And then we have whatever the hell Chad and Orihime is at this time. We're not we are explained what Chad is later on, but still it's like, oh, and even Don Kanoji, like he does something completely different, where going back to what Kevin was saying is like there's so many different characters and like different aspects, I guess like just showing like this type of world is like there's different things that can be at play. And so like that's very interesting. One thing personally that I have a gripe with are the Bakudo systems, right? Because we have Rukia in the very beginning. The Bakudos being spells that Soul Reapers are used or taught, and seeing that they have different ones that's not just necessarily for attack. There's binding ones. There's ones to basically make you forget. There's different types of spells for different types of things, and the only times that they're really used after the Soul Society arc is for as pools, like what Kevin says. Like they're not like nobody like really builds into them. We have we are introduced to characters who are expert sorcerers. I forgot his name, but he's the one that's with Kisuke, the one with the
Tessai.
glasses. Yeah, Tessai. Because we see Tessai like he's there with Ichigo as he's binding him, and we see that he's a master. He's doing his thing, but he's not really given any more light to shine or to highlight how strong Bakudos can be. I mean, we see a character later on who is powerful, but I feel like by that point it's like, okay, you're just doing this just to remind us that Bakudos can still do stuff. It's like you still could have done something to help your case up until this point. So I feel like there's just a lot of cool and interesting powers, but partially because of like what Kevin said, like the Soul Society was so popular, they're like, okay, we just need these type of fights with these type of powers to sort of what's the phrase, titrate or to simplify things, which there's nothing wrong with simplifying, but still it feels like we're being cheated almost because of all the different interesting abilities that we're introduced to, if
Yeah, it's like
that
the
makes sense.
Car arc
Mm-hmm.
is kind of a repeat of Soul Society arc, right?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, we got, and this time instead of 13 guys, it's 10 guys. and they have their own little guys who are their subordinates, just like these captains did. And Ichigo's got to fight a bunch of them, but not all of them. Just like this Soul Society arc, there's fights happening everywhere, and it's really very similar. The guy, you fight a guy with a sword, and then he powers up to something else. So that's what the
Mhm.
Arrancar do. So I guess it kind of does. The show kind of becomes that, and even even Execution and Thousand Year Blood War, that's still kind of what's going on. You know,
Yeah.
everyone's got their little power up they do. And I do like the uniqueness of this first little thing where it's like that's not a factor.
Yeah. Where it's mainly you're going up against, and that's another thing too that we see in this arc, like when they go to the gatekeeper Jadambo, uh Chad and Orihime and them, they're talking with each other, and essentially it's like all not necessarily what they need, but they realize that Ichigo just got needed experience by sparring with Urahara as much as he did. But you get that sense that everybody that they're fighting against have been fighting for years. So it's like you, again, just adding to that was just adding to those stakes about them going to find their friend, them taking on these people. It's like you have these powerful people who've been fighting for years. You're just now this blossoming spirit child trying to do the right thing, and you don't know if you're going to win. Whereas later on down the road, yeah, they're more experienced, but again, like it's sort of lost, where you're essentially like repeating the same thing, and it doesn't feel refreshed or renewed in any way. Not like this first arc, but I'm trying to think. But Jade, going back to your point, was there anything in particular that you felt with the different type of powers? Were you overwhelmed with the different types of powers that were introduced? Was there a particular one that you favored? Um, that that you favored that was shown to you?
Yeah, it's interesting in the way of, and I keep saying interesting because
Mm-hmm.
something I guess is repeated in the fandom is like it's Bleach is good, and I'm not putting air quotes around that, but I am saying in a way of like everything you guys just said. I don't hear the love for the series, and after watching this, and I've watched the Bounce, I've
Mm-hmm.
watched Wako Mundo and Roncar, I've watched some of Fullbringer, and I've watched at least half of the 26 episodes for the Thousand War Blood arc up to now. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
missing a few pieces of my Bleach knowledge still, but it's like I don't hear the same reverence with Bleach as it is with the other two, with One Piece and Naruto.
Oh yeah.
That's because
And
their
just
fans are just not. I don't know. They're not critical of their art. I
Mhm.
think Bleach makes, as I said, Naruto and One Piece look bad. I mean, Bleach has so much style. I think that's one thing it has going for it that the other two maybe don't as much. Is that this is a stylish show. It is stylish characters. They do stylish things. It's very stylized. Style is everywhere, and so it oozes it. And I
yes.
really like the uh, like in the Arankar arc, which I know this is not really what we're talking about,
Mhm.
but the Arankar are all clad in white, and the Soul Reapers are all clad in black, and this whole contrast, it's all done very well,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And they even do that with Ichigo's enemies are all a lot of times clad in white. The captains he fights have white jackets, so they do that on purpose, and the Quincy wear white. And because it's a black and white manga, he can't really use other colors, so that's what he's using, and he does it so well. It's just really well done. The whole thing. Uh, I love Bleach.
Yeah, and I want to get a little bit more into that.
Excellent.
Yeah, I do want to get more into that because
Mm-hmm.
it is a case of that when people recommend things, they recommend it out of their own personal love for the thing and not
Mm-hmm.
what is, I know, I guess you can find the enjoyment because like the depth that I'm talking about these first 20 uh, episodes is really deep. Like there's a lot
Yeah.
to discover with Bleach. Well, when I look back at Naruto, like the first 20 episodes of Naruto is the lands hidden in the
Zabuza.
waves.
Or the mist, right?
Mist, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not the mist.
Oh, not the
It's like
mist.
the whirlpool. It's the
Zabuza's
Zabuza
doing stuff.
Yeah,
Haku.
yeah. Zabuza.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, Haku. And then in One Piece, it's leading up to the Bartier,
yeah. The Baratie.
essentially.
Yeah.
So, like, I think episode 20 introduces Sanji, essentially.
Hmm.
So, like, for like the power system and why I'm connecting these two ideas, is like you don't get a understanding of chakra in Naruto until many chapters on. You might even say like you don't get a good understanding of chakra until Shippuden, and
Hmm.
then in One Piece you don't get a good understanding of hockey and devil fruits until probably far past into the New World and like
Yeah.
post time skip. So like everything you see in the first 20 episodes of Bleach is what builds on the foundation and explains everything. Like you were saying, like the magic system is undefined, so it can be an ass pull for certain techniques and to solve problems. But why is Bleach good when its introduction isn't what represents the series? Is, I guess, my overall thought
Oh.
about it is that I never watched the first arc because everyone said don't bother. Not that it's not good, but don't bother is because it's not representative of what the series is. And
Those people are dumb.
okay,
Yeah.
well, yeah. So Kevin, can you
Yeah.
speak on that a little bit more? Like,
I mean, the first arc's really good. We could talk about how good it is. I mean, my favorite character in the whole show is Rukia. And is it because of what's happening after this season? Hell no. This season is her strongest moments, unfortunately. And I love Rukia. She's just my favorite character in the whole thing. And it's just because of her relationship with Ichigo in this
mhm,
story and her motivations and her determination. It's just like this is what the Bleach I like because Rukia actually gets to do things.
mhm. Oh, okay,
And it's
fair,
so
fair, yeah, yeah.
important for the Soul Society because you don't have any fucking idea why Rukia matters in Soul Society if you haven't seen this, and why it's
Hmm.
important. For another thing, I don't like how they just make her into a damsel in distress, but they do, and that's okay. But you should at least see what she was before that. If you just skip to
Mm.
Soul Society, it's like she's just this name like featureless girl you know nothing about.
Mhm.
It's
Which she was for a long time. Yeah, yeah.
I would say like it like what Kevin said. You need to watch this to understand Soul Society, and I think like it definitely shows a little bit what you were mentioning, Jay. How Renji had the clock in clock out attitude, and with Rukia, we saw a little bit of her personality when she was outside of the Soul Society, and you get a little bit of it when her brother shows up. How she sort of does this 180 in dealing with Ichigo, and I feel like her characterization before just makes it that much more important, because when she goes back to Soul Society, or when she is in the process of doing that, you realize that she has to abide by rules and she has to act a certain way. And they go on to explain in the Soul Society her relationship to her brother, and what the whole Kuchiki clan means and what it represents, and the formality that comes with it. So her depiction in the Soul Society, it's not necessarily a good characterization of her character, because that's her having to live by the Soul Society rules. So like it's like one leads into the other and helps you understand just the way of life in the Soul Society. I At least that's what my line of thinking is, and what makes the Soul Society arc that much more important. Um, and like one of the themes and one of the tones is like having to like how far do you have to follow society before you have to say no more in order to save yourself or the ones that you love, that sort of thing.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, and yeah, the impact of it, and again, I think that was something that even as my adolescent version of the
Mm-hmm.
watcher at the time was, it's like I understand that she's a trapped bird in a cage. Is no matter of what her character is, this is who she's acting or she's pretending to be
Mm-hmm.
for the purposes of keeping up that illusion of no, like she is like a respectable member of her family, and she like cares about those things about her family, but it's also like there is a proper way of handling the situation. Even with royalty or nobility, you act in grace when you're even about to get killed. And I guess that was always my picture of her until I saw these until I saw them in her in this arc. It's like, oh, her character is more lively, this is who she is.
Mm-hmm.
And then it reinforms, and again, it's like one of those situations of watching a prequel series before the main series, or watching the main series and going back into the prequel series.
Yeah.
Is like, what is the proper way to watch a thing? And of course, you can watch things out of order, and I did. So it's like, okay, going back now, and I was like, oh, okay, this better informs my enjoyment of Soul Society. So I'll definitely go watch the Soul Society after this, probably,
I
and see,
know.
okay, I can
It
get that
was. I'm sorry.
carried
Go
over
on.
emotion.
No, 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 no. I was just saying, like, as I was watching it, it was hard because I didn't, as I was watching it, the feelings and my love for the show got reinvigorated, and it was really hard. Having to stop like at where we had agreed to stop on, because I felt like if I kept going, I wouldn't be able to talk about the substitute soul arc because of everything else that came afterwards.
Right, because it's a good
Mhm,
cliffhanger. I mean, for an arc, and again, like if you look at the comparatives of Naruto and One Piece, like One Piece first season is like 50 episodes or 57 episodes,
mhm.
and then the 20th episode for Naruto is the enter the tuning exams. So like the same way as this like good cliffhanger of like how big the world's going about to be opened up, it
Okay.
serves that purposes of a good cliffhanger. So it's like, oh yeah, I want to
Yeah.
get right into Soul Society arc. And then
Yeah.
Soul Society, I think, is broken up into two parts essentially, like the rescue or the entry, and then the rescue part. But to, I guess, really wrap up the conversation of the Substitute Soul Reaper arc, is there anything that really like stands out of like, okay, let me say like, what is your selling pitch for checking out this arc, or even checking out one Bleach in its totality? Is like, how would you recommend, or how would you persuade someone to check it out? What is like a good summary? What's a good point to touch upon? What is something character wise or plot wise that you would say like, oh, this is why Bleach stands as a big three?
Oh, that's a good
This
question.
show has great characters, great style. Rukia's awesome, and you should watch it.
All right.
Short and to the
Yeah.
point. Yes.
No, it's perfect because stylized, and it's really weird because when I was thinking, I'm going to give you some more time to think about it, Sam, because it's probably a deep question because
Mhm.
um, you give some time to think about it. But I did think it was very interesting to see this version of Ichigo, because when you get him in Soul Society, he does feel, I don't know, structurally different, or like character wise, like he's already grown from
Mhm.
who he is in the first arc to the second arc. When you don't say that about the other two in the big three, like Naruto doesn't really change
Oh
ever.
yeah. No. No.
Luffy doesn't change ever, but I think even
Oh, he
in the
uses
first,
sexy jutsu a little less.
oh yeah, true, um, for good
Speaking
reason.
of
But
which,
yeah, yeah.
the horny stuff in this show has not aged well. I shouldn't change the subject like that. My bad.
Oh no, it's something we can circle back to. Yeah, I mean that's like I was going to say, is there a reason not to recommend this? And maybe that can come up in the conversation.
Well,
But
I'm sure there is. I mean, if you don't like anime, I mean, it's definitely an anime. It's not the anime to recommend to non-anime likers. Let me put it that way.
oh, interesting. Okay,
No.
because it's
No. No. No.
stylized,
No.
niche.
First time users.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah. So yeah,
No, I wouldn't
so
necessarily say that, but I'd say
Yeah.
if you didn't like Naruto at all, if you didn't like Dragon Ball Z at all, I don't know if Bleach is gonna change your mind.
oh,
Mm.
interesting. Okay, okay. So it doesn't stand that too apart from the other ones.
I mean, it's showing at the end of the day, and I mean, it's got those elements.
Hmm.
Um, but it's a really good one.
Gotcha. Okay, okay. That's good. Because there is something like the edginess to it. There's the darkness of it. It's the horror comedy elements of it. It's like a complete package. So I was like, I don't know if that's really uh not appropriate, but it's like I feel like the One Piece and Naruto things are like comparable while Bleach isn't, because like Kevin says, like stylized, there's a lot of um genre stuff going into it as well, and it's like it's not for casual viewers, I guess, essentially. So it doesn't get a general recommendation, but it might get a like, oh, anime lovers, if you haven't watched Bleach, this is a good place to start, and this is a good reason why. Because I think there is some similarities between this and Jujutsu Kaisen in a
Oh
way
no,
of fan
Jujutsu
base.
Kaisen definitely took some elements from Bleach and from Naruto. The creator did admit that.
Oh,
And
nice. Okay.
let's be honest here,
Hmm.
Bleach is taking a lot from Yu Yu Hakusho.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
Uh,
As
Yeah,
nice.
Team
I
Four,
mean,
as
these
as, as,
ideas keep going back.
as Team Four Star says, it's like I liked Bleach back when it was Yu Yu Hakusho, and I liked Yu Yu Hakusho back when it was Dragon Ball Z.
Hmm.
But that was Team
Yeah, I
Four Star.
mean the history
Yeah.
between Kubo and Akira Toriyama is like really known. It's like he's even helped push Bleach into like publication because of his
Hmm.
recommendations, and like talked about it like densely about influences. Even like the paneling work that you see that Kubo writes is or draws is very like reminiscent of dynamic motions of action and choreography. But don't want to talk about too much about the manga, but about the anime. It's
Yeah,
like,
the anime.
okay, so these are good points. There's bad points, of course, and then there's like the highly I don't know, gatekeeping nature of it. It's like, okay, well, here are these asterisks to maybe enjoying it or to recommending it. So, Sam, what did you want to say about
So
recommending it or not?
what at least the reason why I would say to watch Bleach, because and as I was watching it, I was just chewing on it because it hit me at a certain point when I needed it. Like I was feeling my edge lord phase, and it was my
The
face.
best time
Yes.
to watch Bleach.
The best time to watch Bleach is during your edge lord phase. But a little bit to what you had said, Jay. What you had said was Ichigo's growth, and thinking back on it, when it came out, even in the beginning, Ichigo's character is a lot more mature than Naruto and Luffy when they're introduced. And I would say that was probably why I took to him, because his character was so mature. You can deal with, well, not saying that you can't deal with mature themes, because One Piece did deal with mature themes as they came up, but in as much succession as Bleach did, because you're dealing with death. So every episode had to deal with something that was heavy, and Ichigo's character was strong enough to really take it. And not only that, but he was able to grow from it. So with his character, with his interactions with his friends, with his antagonist, we see with Uryu, even though they're both bullheaded towards each other, they grow from each other and their interactions. We see a physical representation of that. And not only with him, but like with Rukia, she's the one that pushes his growth the most, and he's he doesn't push back that change. He questions it, and rightly so, but he grows where he needs to grow. He realizes where he comes short, and he takes the mature route in order to grow. And the uh the characters are very well done, very well written, and I think I had mentioned this to you before, but like we haven't even brought it up here, but the music. Oh my goodness, you want to talk about
Goated,
stylized? Oh
goated.
my goodness. And even when we are introduced to different, so I'm trying to get ahead of myself, but like the thing is, like, you get, I don't want to say that the music does a lot of the heavy lifting for the story, but it complements the story so very well. You get the right somber tones for when you're dealing with a deep theme, and whenever you have different characters going to different places, like when Ichigo is in the regular world versus when he's in his soul form, you get different music, so you can tell aside from visually that you are in a quote unquote different realm. Even when different factions show up, you have different music for I think maybe Hat and Clogs. I'm not sure if he has any, but from the real world versus the Soul Society, there's different music. When you have oh my goodness, when you have different factions coming in, we had mentioned the Arankar, and I would say like that's one thing too that Kubo does, and like we get this in the manga, and I think they took note of it in the anime, whereas like he tries to delve a little bit into other cultures. So Chad is Mexican, and there's a there's a group of antagonists that's all Spanish themed, and in the anime they have these great like flamenco guitar parts, and it's not necessarily like cheesy mariachi music. It's like, holy shit, this is this guy just shredding on this guitar, and I can't wait for this like climax to end. Or even later on in the show, when the Quincy's become more of the forefront, they come from a more Germanic background, so everything is very bombastic, and you have horns and things like that, very Germanesque in that regard. And you're like, okay, this is what it feels like to be among the Quincy Guard, that sort of thing. And it's just another testament to the style. So it's oh my goodness, sorry, I gushed on the music a little bit, but just how the story is done, the characters visually, for its time, it hasn't aged very well, but company for what it was good, and the music that accompanied it was very very good. So like overall, it has high marks to where it can tell a very good story.
This is
All
my
right.
favorite anime soundtrack of all time. Not even close.
That's perfect. Yeah. So, I mean, even a callback to one of our
Hmm.
very first episodes, or one of our first very guest episodes, we had a music composer on to talk
Yeah.
about opening anime songs. And I think one of the Bleach, I actually should have looked this up and revisited that episode to talk about it. But yeah, Bleach came up very frequently when we were talking about
Hmm.
like what could make up the top 10 list of best opening songs. And like, yeah, the first season goes hard. And I
Oh, the
also think,
intro.
yeah, the
Can we
intro.
talk
Oh,
about the Bleach season 1 intro?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Goated. It's so goated. it's it's so good. I love it so much. It might be that might be my favorite anime intro of all time too. I mean, it's so. I love the first. Some other Bleach intros are good. Like I've made Bleach intro tier lists,
Hmm.
Mhm.
but Bleach opening one to me is still the best. It's so good. All the characters are wearing all this fashion stuff, and it makes no sense. They don't wear that just like that in the show. It's cool.
Mhm.
Everybody
Yeah,
says
because
Kubo should go into fashion because he just like draws all these ornate and complex like fashion
I want to dress
pieces.
like that.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we didn't even talk about like the impact that Bleach has had on the anime community in a whole, and even outside of the anime community. So, like the music wise, the video
Hmm.
games, the movies, live actions, even there's a rock musical to even to point out like how impactful the music plays into the series and the franchise. I mean, that even stems from Kubo's putting like title songs or character songs
Yes.
in the profiles of his characters. And I forgot,
I
is
only
it Bad
know about
Religion?
I only know about Bad Religion because it's supposed to
Bad
be
Religion
Ichigo's
for
favorite
Ichigo.
band. Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and isn't his favorite actor Al Pacino? Like that's canon.
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Hmm.
That's such a
Yeah.
weird thing to have. Like, imagine if we knew Naruto's favorite actor. Like, what?
Oh my
it's,
goodness. Watch
it's
it
very
be like
funny.
Christopher Walken or something like that.
No, he's a big oh, I had a good gag, but I can't remember his name. The guy who played Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, Michael
That's
Michael
Cera.
that's
Cera.
Nar. Michael Cera is Naruto's favorite actor for sure. No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, so there's like so much to Bleach, and I guess to compound what, like, I'd even come to that terms of like
Mm-hmm.
saying it's stylized, but yeah, like even in the opening it's like very cinematic, and like the composition of the shots, and like how you see each of the characters playing out and interacting with each other, and the swag of their drip. It's just
Oh
like
Yeah,
yeah.
they
so
got
much
such
to it.
this. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, if you ever just see like when anime started to become, well, maybe become cool, but it started to bleed out into like streetwear, it kind of has the origin in Bleach because of that reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like just how Kubo designs aesthetics, and like, yeah, Kevin brought it up, like how he uses the black and white of his panels to kind of just sell moments. He also extends that into his like alternative outfits for his characters, because like in Ichigo's, like he has the goggles, he's like he has the stereotypical
Yes. Yes.
Digimon. I don't know where the goggles like come up
Well,
in
yeah.
other animes, but
Never,
Well,
never.
Naruto had goggles, but
right, yeah.
then he got rid of them because he got tired of having to draw goggles.
Oh yeah, Naruto goggles. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like it was in the first episode, and he
Yeah.
drops them after he gets his headband.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. His ninja headband. Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, again, like there's a lot to talk about Bleach, but yeah, for right now, that's a good endpoint about what's so great about it. But just to close on like some of the negatives, are there any negatives to warn people about? Like I think Kevin talked
Yo,
about
Rukia doesn't
Cone.
get to do enough.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, fair. Yeah, again, dropped off characters we mentioned, like this supremely interesting cast that
Mm-hmm.
don't get fleshed out enough, or at least in a satisfying way, or the perviness. Like we have characters like Sanji that kind of plagues One Piece. We have
Oh my goodness,
the
that
sexy
that that
jutsus.
lesbian girl. Oh, she was so annoying.
Chizuru?
I think so. Yeah. The one with the glasses that was Orihime's classmate.
Yes, I believe her name is Chizuru.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Her. Cause
Yeah, there's
Yes,
like some
she is the
side elements.
character who comes up again. I
Yeah,
mean, she
right.
does, but she doesn't
Yeah.
never do anything. But
Mhm.
like, she does more than half. She does more than Chad.
which is horrible. It's like why?
Uh,
No.
Not really, but you know what I mean. It's like she practically
Yeah.
does more than Chad because Chad doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's weird like things like school Ichigo's school life in the
Mm-hmm.
first in this first arc is like just gets
Oh,
dropped completely
Jay,
after this point.
I do want your opinion. What was your opinion on Cone?
we didn't even talk about Cone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think I was intentionally skipping around him, but um it's the same way as I feel about Sanji. It's like one of those
Mm-hmm.
elements that feels like it just placates to the lower denominator, lower denomination of the demographic of what Shonen Jump goes for. It's like, let's talk about certain in-world jokes about boys being adolescents.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, okay, it's not too distracting, and it's like such a small part of it, while it's like a bigger part in like One Piece specifically, to
Yeah,
being
I,
part of the main cast. The Cone's there, and I like that it is embedded inside of a power system. The As a Gigai,
He,
or
no, no.
Mod Soul.
Yeah, he's a mod.
Matsu.
So
Thank
yeah,
you,
he
thank you.
essentially like drives around in Ichigo's body.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
yeah.
Like how
So
that works for the story, it serves a purpose, but then there's like these off-putting comedic moments, or meant to be comedic moments, that don't really land.
Mm-hmm.
But other than
yeah,
that, it's like non-issue.
if I
Okay.
could touch on that, I think Cone's like kind of 2 or 3 episode arc that he has in this first season is really good.
Mm-hmm.
But I would agree that Cone is usually just used for pervy comic relief, which is sad because his initial arc in this is so strong and so emotional, and I wish
Mm.
they kind of kept that going more. But it's just like every other character that Kubo has already moved on to the next character, and he
Mm-hmm.
keeps introducing another character, and we're gonna love them, and they're not gonna get used, and it's just like a repeating cycle like that. But you know what? He makes us love the character every time. So
It's
there's
like,
something
oh
to
hey,
that.
he's back on the screen.
The fact that we
Yes.
miss all these characters is like a testament to how good he is.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like hundreds of characters that I wish, like literally 100 characters, I bet that I'm like, oh, I wish they did more. And it's like 100 characters you wish did more, in this like what 700 chapter manga. It's like that's amazing. That is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I would say,
And
like,
he is.
I'm sorry, you were going to say, Jay?
Oh, just to say that he also doesn't kill them off. They're just
That's
in the
true.
world
That's
still,
Yeah.
true.
so
He
it's
really
always
should have
availability.
killed. Yeah,
Mhm.
they're always there.
Yeah.
Or at least have one character make a sacrifice, where it's like, okay, we love we love that character, their time is done, that sort of thing. But I would
He
say,
does, and then they
yeah,
come back anyway,
yeah, it's just like, okay,
all the time.
this is cool, I guess.
Yeah, he's non-committal in that respect, which is unfortunate.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
I would
But
Yeah,
say,
he
like,
didn't
I
get
do
a.
art. I have a webcomic,
Mhm.
and out of all my influences, Kubo is the biggest Japanese influence that I have on my personal art because he just does it so well, and his characters are so great, and
Mhm.
he's just a real talent.
Nice. Has that come into your animation at all, Sam?
Oh no, I don't know if I should admit, I should admit this. When I first started animating, I was doing a fanfic that I had called the Kurosaki Chronicles, where I was just focusing on Ichigo, Uryu, and Chad, and doing my own uh, story art with them. And that sort of leads into the point that I was trying to say, because what Kevin had mentioned, how Kubo has introduced all these great characters and we all get attached to them. It does impact the community being the fans. It impacts us so much so that there are some light novels that were fan fiction to begin with, but then Kubo read them and he canonized them. I want to say, I forgot what the name of them were, but one of them had to follow. Kevin, you'll know his name. It's the lieutenant with the 69 tattoo on his face.
Isagi, I don't remember his first name
Yeah,
or
that
which,
one.
but yeah, yeah. He just looks like Ichigo with 69 written on his face in a
Hmm.
tape.
Pretty much, but
Yeah,
like,
I'm not
yeah.
sure if is that fan fiction story accurate. I was under the impression that it was just a book that was commissioned like any other normal book.
Oh, okay, never mind then. I was under the impression that it was fan fiction because I know that there's a lot of fan
Shuhei
fiction.
Hisagi.
Oh, Chuhei, okay. But
Yeah,
I know
he's a
there
cool
is a
character.
novel.
I wish he did
Yeah.
more.
I know, right? But like that, there are novels like dedicated to him, and he has his own side story that they deal with I think with the royalty of the Soul Society, or that's its own book series. But um, there's like I said, just a testament to these interesting characters that Kubo makes and he gives to the community, that people within the community want to do stuff with them so that we can see them actually do stuff and grow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because yeah,
Hmm.
I didn't mention any of those because I wasn't sure about the legality, not legality, but legitimacy of those. Because
Hmm.
like all
Okay,
the
well,
other Bleach productions are a little bit more clear on what's actually going on. But yeah, all right. So I was thinking that that was a good place to transition to back to online or live screen.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. Any we don't have any other final thoughts on the series, or we're going to do that
I got
in the
one
other.
question for you guys,
Okay.
if we can allow it.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. What's up?
Is Burn the Witch canon?
Oh, I want to say yes. Just because of how it ended, I want to say yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
I thought it's known that that's happening in the same world.
Hmm.
I thought that was
I mean,
just a
yeah,
fact.
but like, there's been no interaction between it at all, so it's kind of
Mm,
And yeah,
you could
that
easily just write it off as non-canon at this point. So
true.
what
oh,
are we
interesting.
feeling?
Mm.
I'm going with my heart and says that it is, even though it seems like the power system's completely different. In my heart of hearts, it is. It's the same.
Yeah, nothing about it makes sense to me to be canon, but yeah, sure, why not? You know, that's like honestly, yeah. I mean, Kubo wrote it.
Hmm.
He wouldn't have put that in there if he didn't think it was canon at least a little bit. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna go with Burn the
Hmm.
Witch canon. Hey, check that out, Bleach fans, if you haven't.
Oh yes,
It's
you
real
have
short.
to.
Yeah.
Oh,
Also, to speak to his
yeah.
previous work, Zombie Powder.
Oh, I haven't
That
had the
was what
chance
he
to.
released.
I think I
Yeah,
read
very
a little bit.
short
Yeah.
run before he started into Bleach. But yeah, it's really short.
Mhm.
But yeah, similarities that you could say, oh, this is definitely Kubo's work. But what were we going to say, Sam?
No, I was gonna say, do we have time for one more question? Because I got one question for you guys, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So, say for instance, Bleach were to be released in today's day and time, right? Is there anything that you think would be different to accommodate for today's viewership?
Yes.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no, no, no. Like, okay. So, like, what would be the biggest difference that you would see that would be made to accommodate today's viewership?
I think Ichigo is too kind of cool to appeal to traditionally cool to appeal to the modern audience. I think a lot of the more modern characters are a little, I guess, have less of an edge to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like Midoriya, you could say,
Mhm.
in
Oh, so you would say that they would make him a
My
little bit
Hero.
more dweeby or something?
Yeah, he wouldn't be because he's kind of too cool. I think
Okay.
that's one thing is a lot, but yeah, I don't know. It's like it's hard to say, but I mean something would be different. I think Ichigo would have a fucking cell phone, like
That's fair. That's
Yeah, I
fair.
was going to say this, and now
Mhm.
that Kevin brought this up, is that yeah, he does have Ichigo does have like he is a better written version than Bakugo in My Hero Academia because
Yeah.
the delinquentness in Bakugo, or like how Bakugo presents himself, is that he's self-entitled, arrogant, uh, and also he is a bad person. While
Yes.
Ichigo is like he has this tough exterior, but he's a good person at heart.
Hmm.
And if they're going to rewrite Ichigo in a way that maybe is more appealing to modern day audiences or the modern day shonen
Hmm.
demographic, it was like, okay, just make him Bakugo. But a little bit like fast forward
Yeah.
Bakugo's development, because where Ichigo is at the beginning is where Bakugo is now at the end of the series.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
You're
like,
right about
okay, yeah,
that. Yeah.
if the character was going to be anything, it was going to be that. So like, just yeah, make his character less cool, I guess, would be like the way going about it. But also, there's like some
Hmm.
elements that would probably take out, probably make it a little bit more graphic. Like, yeah, Bleach was
Oh,
always
yeah.
like the edgy show, I guess, of the
Hmm.
big three, but it would probably go in the direction of like, okay, Bleach was always aesthetically the same as Chainsaw Man or Jujutsu
Hmm.
Kaisen, people getting bodied, maybe like put in some character deaths or make the hollows a little bit more monstrous, like maybe redesign the hollows to make them more like devilish from like Chainsaw Man. Or
Yeah.
See,
there
we're
was an
going two
anime
different
that
directions. We're kind of just saying, I think it'd be like this other manga, and you're like, I think it'd be like this other manga,
mhm.
which
No, I'm
both is
just
kind
saying
of
like
fair, I think.
manga that is popular now. So like
Yeah,
if it
I
was
know,
going to
I get
be
what you mean.
okay, cool. Yeah, because like there
No,
was a
I'm just
anime.
saying I feel the same way about it, just in a different direction.
Okay, what's the other direction?
Well, I was thinking more like My Hero, and you're thinking more
Oh,
like Jujutsu Kaisen. It's like that's
okay.
different kind of directions that it could go because right now it kind of sits in between them, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It does
Yeah.
both. Yeah, essentially. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because like even like talking about My Hero Academia, that has been in publication for 9 years now. It's no
Oh,
longer new
yeah.
gen, and really, not I really dislike people that say it's new gen, but it's like it just shows that like they don't people
We're
don't
old.
talk currently with. Yeah, it's old. It's old. Yeah, it's about to end,
Well,
so it's no
we're
longer
old.
new.
That's
Oh,
why
we're
we
old.
don't
My
feel
bad.
like
Oh,
we feel like it's new because we're old.
It's
yeah,
always
yeah.
new to me.
Yeah, yeah. But of like the other big three,
Hmm.
One Piece is coming out with a new version of itself, reanimated, and
Yeah.
probably a shortened version or
Like a Kai
machete version
version.
of its
Yeah.
story. Yeah, same thing with One Piece. Well, no, I said One Piece, but Naruto is getting reanimated this year,
Wait,
2024.
I thought
really?
Because
I
these
thought I
has
thought it was supposed to be like a few specials that or scenes from the show was going to get reanimated, not the whole thing. I have to look back
no,
into
it's
it
not.
though.
Yeah, it's just like a 4 episode like
Yeah.
mini series essentially. So yeah, I don't see. Well, I do see Bleach having that redone animation after the Blood War arc. wraps up. So
Mhm.
whether we want it or not, it's probably coming back.
Or
I hope so.
if
I'd watch it again.
if not a reanimation, a continuation with the Hell arc that he's quote unquote working on.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to see.
Mhm.
Um, I want to see the story move forward because like there's a lot of stuff they don't. It's kind of the only thing they don't get into is like what exactly is going on in hell.
Exactly.
And
It's
they
oof.
go to Hueco Mundo, they go to Soul Society, they go everywhere. But that's one place they didn't go.
Hmm. Did one of the movies take place in hell? Because I think one of the movies called
Yes,
like
and
Hellverse.
they didn't.
It,
Kubo supplied a bunch of ideas, and they ended up not using them.
yeah,
And
it's
so he
not
made up all these ideas, and they're just sitting there.
it's not really I want to say is Fade to Black the only one that could be considered canon, or
Uh,
Diamond Dust
I
as well?
consider Fade to Black canon because it's good,
Yeah.
and I consider the other ones to be questionable canon because they're not.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because like again, like what I would theorize about anything about hell is like I like the theory. And when I hear fans talk about Bleach, it's like, oh, Kenpachi's from hell. That would be like a very good, very interesting direction to take that with. Is like, why is he such an overwhelming presence in Soul Society, or why was he allowed to exist? When you get into
Hmm.
like the whole why things are the way they are in Bleach, it's like why does Kenpachi exist? Because he feels like a oddity or a extraterrestrial being to Soul Society. It's like, oh yeah, he's from hell, so let's go into hell and see Kenpachi's family or whatever might be the case of it. But yeah, I think moving forward, especially with the popularity of how Japan and how popular the Blood War arc is, it's like, yeah, let's keep the forward momentum and animate.
Yeah.
But again, like how much does Kubo have out with the Hell arc, and like would it be anime only with him heading the production
I
and
think
not
like
having
right
like a
now he is it just the one shot or does he have two chapters out, Kevin? I think it's just the one shot, right?
It's just one. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
one. I think there was recently some announcement about some forward momentum on something,
Mm-hmm.
but to be honest with you, I can't remember what it was or what it said but I know it didn't say coming really soon because I would remember that.
cool. Yeah,
Oh
well,
man.
speaking
Yeah.
about some forward momentum, and we can close on all the stuff they're celebrating for the 20th anniversary. So, at the Yokohama Landmark Tower, they have an exhibition going on of like paneling from the manga throughout like all of everything Tai Kubo has done.
Mm-hmm.
There is that's also that exhibition is called The Lotus of the Brave, and it's going from April 26th to May 26th of 2024. There's also the re-release, or not re-release. There is the Blu-ray release of the Thousand Year Blood War arc, the first
Mm-hmm.
26 episodes coming out on May 6th. And there's a MV project called Reaper coming out, or has come out at some time this year as well. And oh yeah, Kevin did say like uh, 48 45% of the anime is filler, so all 203 episodes are premiering or at least being broadcast on Tokyo TV as well to celebrate the
Oh, did they cut the
anniversary.
filler?
Yeah, they cut the filler. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Even they know.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
but
yeah.
that means you missed the Arabian Nights episodes. Hey, Bleach fans, if you haven't watched that, if you just skipped all the filler, go watch the Arabian Nights episodes right now.
All right,
So good.
sweet. Yeah, because we watched the Halloween episode together, so yeah,
Yeah,
I'll be one of
it's
those.
really neat because those kind of they kind of retell the story and kind of they're almost in a way similar to recap episodes, but
Hmm.
in
Mhm.
such an enjoyable way. It's
Hmm.
very unique and interesting.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'm not on board with Bleach yet, but I think I just maybe need to revisit it a little bit more in depth than what I did just with these first 20 episodes. Because right now, my ranking for the big three would be One Piece, Naruto, and then Bleach.
I mean,
But
that's
Sam, do you
You
have?
have it
understandable.
completely backwards. 100% backwards and wrong, but
All right, so
I,
Kevin
I
is
disagree with it
Bleach.
being completely understandable.
Okay. Okay, so Kevin's is Bleach, Naruto, One Piece, and then Sam.
One Piece is a distant third.
No. I would say I'm thinking like recency bias right now, which is hard. Oh my goodness. So right now, Bleach and One Piece like they're vying for the first spot. Naruto's dead last, whatever the outcome is. Um, I would say the beginning, probably Bleach and then One Piece. But because like right now, like Bleach is over and like One Piece is still going on, and there's still more developments going on there, and just because of how it's a long form, I can appreciate it a little bit. But that's my ranking right now. It's Bleach, One Piece, Naruto.
All right, cool, nice. Okay, so we all have three different ranking systems. All right, nice, nice, nice. All right, transition to
Let's
wait for the
go
save.
back.
Okay.
Woo!
All
We're
right, cool.
back in the
So
real world.
yeah, all right. So that was our discussion of the 20th anniversary for the 2004 anime Bleach. It was a wild ride. Kevin, thank you for coming back on. It was very insightful. I came out of this wanting to watch more Bleach, and I was like, okay, I didn't give it enough credit because of maybe angsty boydness or where it was at the time. It's just like it's the least amount of the big three I've watched. So I should definitely complete my viewing of Bleach and see how I feel with it overall.
Oh yeah,
But
for
yeah,
sure.
thank you.
Hey, can I plug some things?
Yeah, of course.
Hey, you can check out my YouTube videos at youtube.com/@_Kevin Long. I got some videos where I'm traveling Japan with Jay. He's in them. It's real cool. I also make a webcomic. You can read it at redskycomic.com. There's an Instagram link there, Facebook. So check that out if you feel like it. Thanks.
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, because want to equally cross promote because yeah,
Oh,
you'll
of
get to see my
course.
face in real life.
Oh
We
no,
do
a
a
face
bunch of
reveal this early on?
yes, and I'm not like the Fire Force guy that you see right now, but
Montgomery,
yes,
Oregon. Yes.
yes,
It's
Montgomery,
exactly
yes.
what he looks like. What are you talking about? That's
Oh,
dead
I'm not
on.
wearing my glasses, of course.
Yeah, or have a cybernetic body or anything. Oh, you were talking about your real life self. Okay, my bad. I thought you were talking about Martinez on the
I don't have my special eyes on right now.
right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, Red Skies. How many chapters are out right now?
5. I'm working on
Yes.
chapter 6 on and off.
All right, sweet, sweet, sweet. Yeah, and the Tokyo review probably coming out later this year. And Yokohama, have you done? You have some great stories with your grandpa. I really
Mm.
enjoy the. Wait, was it the bear or moose? What was the tree or bull? My bad, the bull story.
Oh, yeah, it was a
I was
bull.
like,
That's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like bear, crocodile.
Yeah,
But yeah,
my YouTube philosophy is like I'm not a big YouTube guy. I'm not going to be, so I just upload whatever I feel like, and so it's a very wide range of things.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but get some insight about his family's life is like very intriguing because I want to do that with my parents one day too. But yeah, Sam, thank you for joining me and Kevin
No,
this
no,
time
of
around.
course.
Yeah, yeah. Did you
Thank
have
you
any
for
like thoughts
inviting me.
on Sonic? Yeah, no problem. Did you have any thoughts on Sonic X? You familiar at all?
Oh, I've seen the first few episodes. I hadn't watched it how I needed to. I'm more familiar with Sonic Sat AM and Sonic Underground, but I
Hmm.
consume a lot of Sonic stuff, and but I did go back and listen to your episode, and it was pretty good. So I missed out. On that part, but hopefully we'll be able to have another time where we can talk and discuss. Once again, Kevin, I really did enjoy this. Having another Bleach aficionado on another A1 Day one, it always helps. Always
Yeah,
makes me
I'm
feel
always
good.
happy to gang up on Jay, everyone would say his opinion's wrong. I love doing that. So anytime you want me to come do that, I'll be down.
Nice,
Yeah, yeah. You
appreciate
guys keep me in check. You keep my.
it. Of course, man. You just don't sometimes you get too full of yourself. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, yeah. My ego is huge, barely fits on the screen. But yes. All right. So that was our episode on Bleach. So we have been the Weebs on the weekends. Friday, but it's a weekend. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that's until next time. So peace.
Peace.